Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Comic Con review on the JayBee and Milly channel. I am JayBee, and of course, with me is Milly.
Hi.
And like usual with these reviews, we have Sophie. Yeah,
Hi.
you're excited there,
No,
I
it's
think.
normally like gap where you like with Millie.
We've digressed
Exciting.
enough, I think. So, we've reviewed a few of these now. We did the Telford Takeover, we did Scotland Comic Con, and now we're back to do MCM Birmingham 2023. So, if you are watching this and you also attended that event, feel free to comment down below and let us know what day you attended. And if you did a cosplay, let us know what you dressed as. And also, because the main subject matter of this will be meeting Jennifer Hale, if you're a fan of Jennifer Hale, we did interview her recently for our podcast series. I'll leave that linked in the description as well. So, without further ado, I believe Millie does have the agenda because last time I made one and I got ridiculed, but now you have one, so we'll
So
see.
I guess kind of talking about the build up to the Comic Con, I think like we'll talk about tickets, booking it, stuff like that. Admittedly, this isn't something that we committed to like quite early on. We knew we wanted to go. We found out about it for in the interview with Jennifer Hale. And we kind of knew we had to go. You can't not go. But and it was easy enough to book when we did it. But the one point that I kind of want to mention here is I think in terms of autographs and stuff, it was this Comic Con specifically was a bit more expensive. I feel like wasn't this more than we paid for Lilith?
Can you make a comparative, or do you not have the figures on hand?
I've got a rough idea of what the numbers were for Jennifer Hale if you remember the Lillard ones. You don't. I think we paid about 45 for Lillard, and I think this was about 50. So that's kind of just one of my initial points and kind of one of the reservations we had in booking this. So I don't know if either of you to kind of have any thoughts on that, or if it was just me that was kind of like, I don't want to pay this.
I'll let Sophie go because I'm having a coughing fit.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Grace was like 45. I think Neil's was like 47, 49. And yeah, Jennifer's was 51. So I wasn't expecting it to be that much. I know we're only talking about a couple quid in it, but when it goes over the 50 mark, that's when it gets real sort of thing. Um, but yeah, like yourselves, I hadn't committed straight away. I think I had in the interview, but we didn't know about Scotland coming up. And as soon as Scotland came to
Hmm.
light, I think we were all really excited because that was straight away. But yeah, like you said, how could you not go? So that's why we all went in the end.
Yeah, you can't not go. And I think it's just kind of like the time of year as well, because it's nearly Christmas. You're kind of like, oh, I know how many gifts I need to buy. I know how much food I need to buy over the Christmas period and like cooking for everybody and stuff. And it's like, okay. But yeah, ultimately the decision was made. We did have to go. And it was easy enough to book. The website was great. And I also think in terms of getting there, we were quite fortunate. On the way there, we didn't really get stuck in too much traffic, despite how bad like the snow had been and all that sort of stuff. Because based on the time of year, just outside of the city, there was quite a lot of snow. Way back was fine as well. I don't know. I think in terms of the venue and everything, easy enough to get to. I think it was really good that they kind of had like a bus and everything set up that was free. Parking on site, really expensive. It was like nearly £20, which was for parking alone was kind of like, oh, that's nearly half an autograph. Kind of how I was seeing it. But I quite like the venue. It was really good.
Yeah. So, yeah, the parking. I mean, I didn't drive, so that was okay with me. But yeah, the cost of that car park was actually ridiculous. What was it? It wasn't like £20 or
Yeah.
something ridiculous. Like, I mean, for £20 parking, you'd expect Britney Spears to like serenade you as you went in. You'd expect the Spice Girls to be like car washing you. Like,
Especially when the ticket seems so expensive, you'd think that the venue was
yeah,
making enough money off the event. Also, I don't know, I just feel like you weren't kind of warned how much parking was. You were all just kind of waved into a car park, and I don't know, it was a bit strange.
yeah. But this NEC, that was called the National Exhibition Centre, I think was the biggest venue that we've ever been to for one of these. And I want to say it was the nicest once you got in there in terms of general
Well, yeah,
maintenance, you
because
know.
Edinburgh was like a glorified barn. Um,
But then
the
again, the Wales one was lovely, actually.
it wasn't too bad, but this one certainly, with the entrance bit before with all the stores and stuff, kind of just seemed like a massive scale thing.
It seemed like it's like a train station, honestly, like at the start. Like I was wondering where I was gonna.
Yeah, it's like Starbucks, Subway, there was a little convenience store, like I don't know, it certainly seemed like, I think, the best venue. So
I do want to say, like, just as an important part, I'm a little bit disappointed with the security of the venue or lack thereof, because every one we've been to, we've had someone open our bags, at least check what we've got on us. Like, there was some type of security there, which isn't my favorite part of the event. But literally, like, nobody, not that we had anything bad, but no one checked our bags, no one did anything. And so I'm kind of like, some lunatic could have easily just brought anything in and there'd be no one anyone could do about it. So I was disappointed with the security because we weren't checked, so I assume other people weren't either.
To me, that was maybe a slight communication issue between the NEC and the actual event host, though, because you walk through like a scanning machine as you enter the NEC, and you do kind of, go through the standard, like, oh, get your wristbands and all that sort of stuff a bit later on. But once you've got your wristband, you don't need to go through the Comic-Con's official kind of entrance area, because you can jump in and out of the rooms based on the wristband that you've got at the doors. So it's actually just the NEC security, because I guess at that point you could just kind of hop in and out of rooms, even if they checked your bag, because you could go back out and then come back in a different way and stuff like that. So it would have been quite hard to police based on, I guess, the venue. But I do agree with you that there was like no checks really. Sophie, how do you feel about the venue? I know that you know the area a lot better than we did. So how did you find it?
Going back to the parking, like, I cannot believe how expensive it was. I paid online, so it was £5 cheaper, but still at £12. That was mental. I think yours was like 17 something.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. Yeah, I go to Birmingham most weekends, so for me the journey wasn't bad. But when we woke up, the amount of snow outside, honestly, the whole dream was like a fever, like day was like a fever dream, like winter wonderland, and then you're going to meet Jennifer Hale. In terms of the venue, I think it's been my favourite out of all of them. I couldn't believe how big it was. It's the first time going to a Comic-Con there. I think I agree with the security. There wasn't any security. And I know, like, leading up to it, on Instagram notifications would be like, oh, there will be a bag check, and there wasn't. I don't know if that's like a bit of miscommunication. We were priority tickets, like we were one of the first people in, sort of thing. I don't know if that played a factor into it. But I think overall, I think the venue, yeah, Telford was good as well, but I think just because of all the halls and also, the convenient shops and restaurants around, you had everything at your hand. But I think overall, I think it was my favourite venue.
I think I can definitely agree with that. And I mean, in terms of what was actually inside the venue, I don't even think we got around half of it. There was so much inside. It's definitely the biggest Comic-Con I think that we've been to. Not necessarily like the most guests, because I actually don't think there were that many guests to see.
I think it was a different audience though. I think like you were saying what you thought the shops were gonna be, oh, it's a gaming thing. I think it was a lot of really notable people that have played voices in games, and not so much you're gonna walk to one stall and maybe you'll trip over Murray from Stranger Things, or if you back too far away, you're gonna knock over Christopher Eccleston. Like, it wasn't that type of thing, but they were still notable people within different fields. Just
something I want to say, and I'm prepared for you both to disagree with me here, is I think we saw possibly more Scooby stuff than we've ever seen at a Comic-Con. So I realise we didn't buy as much as we often do, but there was the knitted dolls, there was that horror lunch bag that we saw right at the start, there was the Mystery World of Adventure, whatever they're called, comics that we saw kind of when we were getting the photo done. There was more Funko Pops than I think we've ever seen as well. Like, I know when we went to Neil Fanning, we never saw an actual original Scooby Funko. There was one at this one. I don't know, I just feel like the stores are kind of ticking lots of boxes. And I know for you, there was like Loki Funkos that you'd struggle to see kind of elsewhere. I just feel like there was a lot of stuff And there was a bigger variety as well. You know how there was like that section that was for like independent artists and stuff like that. We bought a little plushie that somebody had kind of handmade, and that was just an entirely lovely experience. Their store was amazing. They told us a lot about like kind of like business and stuff. We got like cute little ducks gifted to us from them because we bought something. So I don't know, I just think that it was all on a bigger scale, but I could have spent a lot there. Like I could have gone for just the shops and would have been happy.
Yeah, I guess I have to like put a disclaimer, because I think both of you will agree. Bro, I was such a prick that day. Like, I was not with it. Like, literally, I had so much wrong with me that day. So this is the Comic-Con that I'm reviewing that I think I remember the least purely because my head was like getting knocked about in my head. So I blamed it a lot on work at the time, and I feel bad for that in hindsight because I don't think it was that bad. But I was ill. Like, I've been coughing non-stop today, and that's really started then. So I was ill. I think I was starving. Obviously, I'd been working like the whole of the last day, so
You'll see it from
I've got a bit of clouded
yeah.
judgment, like in terms of what I'm seeing, because I was just going around being a prick about everything all that day. Like, it wasn't my finest showing. We'll say that much.
You weren't well, and any videos that have been done this week, you can kind of see that
Yes.
like I don't know, you just haven't quite seemed yourself.
Mm.
But it's also been a long time since you've been ill, so we
But
can forgive you for
I
that.
did
And you still did
love
well.
the shops. Here's the thing though, everyone we've been to, I've criticized it for being too easily into the trend of it's just Funko shop after Funko shop. And I'm gonna say that here, except for some reason,
The Funkos were better.
yeah, I feel like if it wasn't for the Funkos, the shops were kind of they weren't bad, they just weren't really that exciting. Whereas every time there were Funkos, I'll just run over to them and I'll go, oh, look at this is awesome. And there were so many Funko Pops there that I wish I could have gotten, but I just love them all.
And Sophie, what about you? How did you feel about the stalls and kind of the size of the event and the things in it? Also, I guess, well, sorry to, before we kind of go to you, and I know JayBee is going to kind of jump into this question, so I do apologize.
It's
But
not me.
part of what I kind of meant within that kind of scope also was like any props that we saw and stuff like that. And there was a Doctor Who area that was amazing. But yeah, what did you think to the stalls?
I think like you kind of went in, you know, the idea that it's a gaming con, like, and I thought maybe not sort of our cup of tea sort of thing. However, I was so surprised by how much variety there was. Like you said, Funko Pops, there's stalls for everything. First time I've seen like a whole comic book section. I thought that was really neat. They had like big areas for that. Like you said, there's like loads of props. I think the prop section was probably done better than Scotland. Because you had to like tunnel through that little tent to get to like the prop area. Yes, there was less, but I felt it was more done sort of thing. But yeah, there were so many stalls to walk around, and I think the second hall we got about a third of it done before we had to rush back for photos, and then it was too late by then to go back. But I think subconsciously going in, I didn't think there'd be much Scooby stuff going on because maybe it's a gaming con, but like you said, there was loads of stuff, and you picked up a lot. So yeah,
I'm prepared for both of you to correct me here. Isn't this the first time we've seen a Scooby Loungefly at Comic-Con? I realise that that's kind of a completely irrelevant thing to point out, but just the kind of scope of the Scooby stuff there was impressive. Like, it genuinely really was. So, I don't know, I think if we'd seen more than one guest, we'd have struggled to even really get through the first room of stalls, because it was kind of like they'd hide 3 rooms of the NEC and just opened them up to create one big event. And I think we got round about a room and a half, maybe. So it was massive.
I think we could have done it, to be honest, if I wasn't ill, like if I wasn't making life difficult for everyone.
And also we did leave straight after the panel and after getting the photo signed again, because there was also like an amber weather warning of it's going to snow, it's going to be really cold. So we did also reach a point where at 4:30 we were like, okay, look, we're going to have to call it a day and kind of go home now. But I think even then, if we'd stayed till it closed, we'd have struggled to get around.
Can we tell the audience about us being plebs?
Oh, how we couldn't find the car
We
afterwards.
forgot where we parked it, so we were walking around the car park
Frame.
like headless chickens, trying to figure it out. Like I was like, oh, if we press the button, do you think something will light up, and we'll just follow that? Like, it was actually really ridiculous. It
I'm
was
not gonna
ridiculous.
lie, I was getting changed in the car, back into like my joggers and whatnot. I was like, there they go again.
Oh no.
Yeah.
When you came from the back. And then the third time we started moving and we were like, are you guys okay? Can you find your car?
Yeah, you arrived literally as we'd just seen it. I was like, okay.
Like,
Let's
you
have a
know,
look
like the
around here.
Benny Hill theme tune playing like over us, just running around looking for the car. It was ridiculous.
So I guess kind of on to meeting the guests. Of course, like we said, we did meet Jennifer Hale. Initially went up to the kind of the table the first time and got the Funko that we'd taken signed. So I guess kind of important to mention here, maybe, that I think certainly the scheduling for this one was a bit different. So they were actually, I feel like all the guests were quite late out. Normally, like when we met Neil Fanning, we were let in early because of the weather. And he was already there, he was setting up his own table. Whereas when we went in at maybe 10:30 and it opened at 10, there wasn't a guest in sight, which was quite strange to me. I don't know if you two found it strange as well.
I did, yeah, because it's the first time that we've encountered anything like that. Even Gray, she was like all bent over the table like when we got there, but everyone like this one, it was just, oh, no one's here. Okay.
It's almost felt to me like this Comic-Con was less kind of guest centric because there just wasn't as many as normal, and like I said, they just weren't there for the first couple of hours. It wasn't until we went back at 12 that we actually managed to see any of the guests. Sophie, do you kind of have any thoughts on just kind of how long it took to kind of get going with the autographs and stuff?
I mean, I know it's no excuse, but I kind of thought, it's a Sunday sort of thing, like a late start. However, looking back on the app, it did say that Sunday she was due out at midday. So having known that, I think we would have understood that, sooner. Because I know we were lurking near the area quite a lot when we were going up down the stores instead of exploring, the other halls and whatnot. But yeah, I think, MCM's more like heavily cosplay and getting together, because I know they've got a lot more like workshops and group gatherings and stuff. And therefore, the guests also, it's like a 50-50 split. But I was impressed how they had them laid out. I mean, I know I completely forgot what I was going to say then. That is shocking. That is so bad.
No, I do that all the time.
Honest to God.
Although that's an interesting topic that you mentioned, the cosplay, because one thing that I'll just interject quickly, surprisingly, there were more Scooby Doo cosplayers at this than there was at Scotland, and I even think Wales as well.
Yeah.
Despite there being no obvious Scooby guest, I guess. Like someone that isn't a member of the gang. So that was interesting.
It is. And I guess still on the kind of autographs thing as well, one thing that did impress me is like quite often at these things, the queues are overwhelming. Like there was an example at Edinburgh, I can't think who the guest was, but they were queued all the way up past the stalls so that you couldn't see what was on the stalls because they couldn't accommodate for the length of the queue.
Edinburgh?
Yeah, Edinburgh. I can't think who the guest would have been. Likewise, when we went to see Matthew Lillard, they were turning people away from his queue because it was that substantial. So I think they managed this really well, but it again kind of lends itself to what we're saying. It was less guest centric, really. Sophie, did you remember what you thought what process was? Because I don't want to kind of interrupt you and like fully move on.
No.
Sorry.
I don't know I was gonna go with it. I don't 50-50, no. Sorry for the editing. I don't know.
No, it's good. I think again, kind of sticking on the autographs as well. The autograph looked amazing. I was so happy with how the autograph turned out. She's got such a nice signature. And obviously she was absolutely lovely to me as well. Just really nice person.
Yeah, and she did recognize us. Like she knew, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I was on their show," and I think it was an amazing one. Like obviously, it was a bit different in that this was, I think, the strictest recording policy that we've had to deal with in terms of meeting the guests. Like we couldn't do a usual thing of recording each other meeting her like physically, I suppose.
But there was a nice moment that you got before you can like record everything, but like where she was making something out to JB and she's like, oh yeah, and you do this with a capital B, don't you? Like there's just a nice little moment like that where you like when they remember stuff, like when Gray said, oh yeah, it's like not JB the letters, it's like JYB. That was an amazing moment. So Sophie, did you enjoy meeting Jennifer Hale?
It was incredible. Going back to the signature, on the run up, getting the perfect paint pen to sign it with was like a task. In the end, I'd go for the thicker one, but then you guys had the fine one. And after I saw her signature, she's got a really scriggly, fine signature. And I thought with a thicker pen, that would look awful. So I did go for your pen, thanks. But yeah, to keep in mind that because you don't know what their signature is going to be like, you don't know if it's going to be like quite a big or like loose one compared to like all like swiggly and whatever curly one. But yeah, meeting Jennifer was amazing. I liked how it was more sectioned off. I felt like with Neil's, how they had you were still very much so in the middle of like the stalls and stuff, and you kind of felt like you were just lurking around and not in the way, but there wasn't a prioritized section like a queue. But I felt how they handle it with the first woman saying, you know, what have you come for, and then the second one, you know, with you paying or your QR code, and then you got to meet Jennifer, and yeah, she was so lovely to talk to, so sweet.
And I guess kind of next we're moving on to the photo ops. So I'd like to say we did meet some lovely people that worked with the Comic-Con kind of company on the day, like you were saying, the people that were doing the queue for the autographs and stuff. But I'm sure we can unanimously agree that the photographer was horrific.
I literally, and I said this in Scotland, and I meant it this time, I literally felt like I was getting deported. Like I felt like I'd been caught by immigration and I was getting like hurled onto a boat. Like, I felt like I was getting deported.
So we were stood like arms around Jennifer, ready for the photo. And the photographer literally turned to JB and went, oi, glasses, head up. I was like,
okay, what now? Turn around,
that
spread
is
them, like
genuinely rude.
I mean, I don't know what he would have. I mean, I've got many other distinct features that I think I would have preferred him not point out, but like, yeah, he actually needs fired. Like, I would actually like to see that man
terrible photographer
on the
as well.
front of the unemployment line by the end of like this quarter. Like, he was so incompetent, and I don't mind it if you're a rude person but you get stuff done, like Sherlock Holmes. I don't care if you're rude. If you make it absolutely perfect, fine, you're a perfectionist. But this guy was rude, gruff, rough, incompetent, literally an ogre. It was like getting your photo taken by Shrek. Like,
but because
Shrek with Donkey's brain, like he was a waste man, like an actual waste man.
Shocked at how he'd spoken to JB. I look terrified on the picture, but it's because I'm in shock. Like, did you just speak to someone like that? We've just paid over £50 to have this picture taken, and you're acting like that. So like,
that's the thing. If it was 20 quid, and you're like, oh, just go back and get another one then. But 50 quid to get spoken to, like I was in the UKIP office.
Like, I remember seeing loads of complaints all over Comic-Con Liverpool because people were paying like £200, or I think it was 150 for a picture with Helen Bonham Carter, and they weren't allowed to stand near it. At least the photographer was probably being nice. Like, this guy was absolutely horrible. And I actually don't think there's any other word for it. I'm surprised there weren't more complaints. But
well, to be fair, I don't think we checked for them, did we?
To say oi, glasses, head up is just outright rude. Like, it's just so unnecessary. And it's nothing against Jennifer Hale, nothing against the organisation of the con. It's just this guy was outright horrible.
I mean, I give my bus driver 2 bob to get from there to town, and even then, some of them have served me, and I don't request that, obviously. But when you pay 2 quid to a bus driver, I was like, oh, thanks, sir. And then you pay 50 quid, and there's that. Like, what an ogre. And I was already feeling bad, but that guy was a genuine waste man. I hope he doesn't have children. I hope his wife leaves him or husband leaves him.
Extreme JB.
No, literally that ruined my day. That did. What a waste of space, man.
I will admit it's the photo out of all of them I'm least happy with.
And it was the most expensive.
Yeah.
I like how Sophie just sat
And I
patiently while I've been
also
playing into this poor guy.
don't like how they didn't do frames at this Comic-Con. You know how normally you can get a frame, put your picture in it, a couple of pictures of what the guest has done. It seems strange to me. You didn't even get the picture in a folder to protect it like you normally would. You got nothing. You paid so much money for it to not even be protected in something. Wasn't impressed with the photos at all.
I want that guy unemployed before Christmas.
You've said. Sophie, please stop say something before JayBee gets a chance to continue.
I'm going to start with the pro, okay? There is a pro. I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I thought the queuing and, the execution of that probably the best out of all of them. I don't think queuing for long. I thought it was in an orderly manner. Definitely, it was for that photograph, that guest alone, and then they'd go, and then because I think in the other one they've had a whole dedicated to photos, and we're all merged together, and we're all trying to find where to go. Here it was one area for photos, one guest at a time with a certain time, and you'd get there, and I thought that was quite good. When we go to the cameraman, the photo op, first of all, I loved in the photo op, but I'm a perfectionist. If I don't look right in it, I'm like, this is it, it's over. So yes, you can do your hair nice. Yes, you can try and get your outfit as perfect as you can. But by the time you've walked 2 feet, gravity takes over, there's wind, and you're all everywhere. So I was trying to get ready. Now, and then the guy was there, and there was no waiting about, and I wasn't taking more than 3 seconds tops, but then he said ready, and before I knew it, the picture was actually taken. The outfit wasn't bad. I just looked like a deer in the headlights. I will admit I did use a face app to give me a smile, so that worked out. I look like I'm happy about it, which I was happy about it, but he startled me to death, and then before I knew it, the photo was taken. Why don't they have a full length mirror just to check yourself out before you go? And they had a tiny little headshot, but you have to duck down, and I'm
I think yours look quite good though. I mean, I do apologize for being a bit passionate in the video, but the thing is I think it's just fair, right? If I go into work and I'm rude, not only rude but incompetent, I'm gonna get in trouble. So it's just, it is what it is.
The thing is as well is I've kind of lost my train of thought, but Sophie has had to use an app to make herself look like she's smiling on the picture. What type of incompetent photographer is taking a picture unless the people are smiling?
I mean, let's be honest, man was a
basic common sense, and
he was a nincompoop.
To have put 2 different photos off to a level where both of them are pulling a face based on how outright rude the person had been. It's not a coincidence. If one turns out well, it turns out badly, it's oh, maybe they were just a bit sensitive. For 2 in a row to turn out, it's the photographer's fault. And
I'm of a mind to email MCM and say that they've got a Meshuggah photographer.
But there was another point that I kind of wanted to say off the back of what Sophie had said.
Because I might jog your memory.
Yeah.
So the usher that was in charge of lining everyone up and getting people in on time, I think he was a really nice guy, and he tried to make things friendly. He tried to ask people what fandom they were a part of when it came to meeting Jennifer and stuff. That guy, I wish he was doing the photographs, to be honest. He was a really, really nice guy, and I like it when they add in that extra bit of personality, which I think he did. So yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he was, like you say, he was really nice. There was also some weird process about picking your pictures up at the end, that they had to scan them, but at the same time they were on the table so you could just walk away with them. That was all a bit weird and a bit chaotic. But yeah, ultimately the photographer just wasn't great. They were just outright rude, and like we said, for both of us to be unhappy with the photo. And the point I was going to make was, if it was our first ever Comic-Con, it's kind of oh, okay, maybe it's just we're not used to the process. But this wasn't that we've done this 3-4 times now. Like, our first ever one was Matthew Lillard, and some of his people didn't get their autographs and stuff because he was such a busy guest that they couldn't get through everything. And even then they managed to make it nice. We were given a couple of seconds where he kind of greeted us, was like, "Hi, it's really nice to meet you." And then the photo was taken. There wasn't even time for
with
pleasantries
all
in
the
this.
decorum of a Just Stop Oil protest on a motorway. Like, I guess the words cannot describe.
I think it, like, because Jennifer Hale was really lovely when we walked over. She was like, "Oh, you two again, hi, come on, like, let's get this picture." Like, I think that had it not been for that, like, I don't think we'd have even had time to turn around before he was trying to take the picture.
I will say one thing: if you're going in a cosplay, they do showcase the whole outfit. With Gray and Neil, it was like waist up. Obviously, you don't see the whole outfit, which I did appreciate. I think out of all of them, this one is my favorite photo. Yes, with the face that, but it still looks like my smile, so it's all good. But I think just for the whole outfit, I think probably is my favorite one. But yeah, again, the frames, I've had to make that one up. Little bit of effort, but I think the real deal, like the official title merch, that's what it's worth, the 20 quid, let's put it that way.
But I do think that, like, when you're paying this much for a photo, it should be protected in a sleeve. It's the first one where it's not been, and it's been the one that's most expensive as well. So it's kind of like, you need to balance this out. If you're going to charge more, you need to make it worthwhile. You need to make it that picture's going to be preserved, that you're going to be able to get it home in decent condition. I wouldn't say
you're going to get it signed as well.
Like, yeah, and I wouldn't say it's uncommon.
You also have to buy like another £50 for a signature. So that one piece of paper is like £100.
Yeah, and there wasn't a way to protect it. And yeah, to me that was a little bit strange. But I guess kind of moving on to the last point, was the last thing we did was go to the panel. It was the first kind of panel that we've ever been to, and I think it was really interesting. I do think that perhaps part of it for us could have been that, obviously, with us not being from the gaming community and more just kind of Scooby fans, there was kind of very little that we maybe understood. I didn't have a clue about half of what they were speaking about, and the half I did, we had the privilege of asking Jennifer Hale face to face ourselves. But still, it was a really good experience.
Yeah, because they were on about like Mass Effect, I think, and a load of other games. Like, I think the guy who she was almost doing like one of our double interviews there. It was kind of fun. With, what was it, David Hayter, who was the voice of Solid Snake, and I think that was a good showing from both of them. I really liked hearing that David Hayter talking as well. Like, I don't think he's done anything Scooby related, but I think he had a good showing with like Jennifer fans as well, although he has a fan base of himself. Like, I think it was fun. Like, I wasn't bored when he was speaking.
And I think it's one of the nicest stages that we've seen for the panels as well, because normally it's just part of the open hall. This was all curtained off. There was the lighting kind of made it more immersive. The music was really fun too.
Yeah, they all had like boxing entrances. Like,
yeah, it was fun.
It was just great.
It was really fun. So,
and it was good for like an ego thing as well, because that guy that was asking the questions, he was asking like somewhat similar things that we ask during like the podcast interviews, and it was nice to hear us type questions coming from someone that's actual paid job does partly encompass asking questions to people. So I'm like, oh, that's awesome as well. Like, it was a bit reassuring that we're on the right lane with things.
Sophie, did you enjoy the panel?
Yes. Going into it, I knew it'd be about the gaming, but usually these panels are quite, open and just about general stuff. The guy did ask about how they all started in their careers, and we already knew with Jennifer Hale because we'd actually asked her in that interview, which I thought was amazing. But yeah, I think I didn't even realize that was like the main stage. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. But then when we went in, I was like, oh my gosh, like, it had its own little zone. It was, like you said, it was a real experience to be a part of. Like, completely separate from the con, even though it was still in the big hall, which I thought that was quite clever. Yeah, David was quite funny as well. But it was just really fun to get to know them and hear their stories. And yeah, I think definitely one of the highlights of the day, because like you say, like you don't have to pay for it. It's just like a free sit down, and it kind of adds to the experience about what you're paying for as well.
It makes me
I
feel a bit blessed as well. I'm sorry to interrupt
no,
you,
no.
but you know, like the fact that we can get such amazing people on the podcast series, and it's like this is someone that people are taking time out of their day to sit in an auditorium to listen to, the type of person that people are actively queuing up to maybe ask them one question. And I just felt very lucky that like people were getting up and maybe not even getting able to ask one question, whereas we can like sit on a Zoom call, comfort of our own home, and pretty much ask as many questions
And
as we
have her
want,
sing
one
to
to
us.
one. Like that just made me feel really like I always knew that it was blessed what we were doing, but that was like, you know what, this is actually awesome.
See, I'm like going to be the Debbie Downer of the day and kind of present a negative,
Uh,
which
well, I've
was
been
at
negative.
the start, the interviewer said, "How many audience questions do we have?" He knew that there was going to be a lot. And he said, "Oh, I'll try and accommodate time wise." And I don't think he did.
No.
Only 3 or 4 got to ask their questions. And so there was a huge queue of people that not only had been stood waiting, but they made them crouch down on the floor as well in a way that looked really uncomfortable. And do that and then still not get to ask their questions. I kind of just felt sorry that they were kind of put in this uncomfortable state. Like, this is me kind of jumping to conclusions and making stuff sound like way more negative than needs be. But say, for example, I know JayBee has problems with his back. So if he'd wanted to ask a question and he'd had to have been knelt down for that amount of time, it would have caused a significant amount of pain. And it wasn't ever like, kind of said, you're going to have to be able to crouch down, you're going to have to be able to wait like this. Do you know what I mean? That's me picking up on something that really maybe doesn't need to be picked up on. But I did think that just kind of assuming that all these people were going to be fine crouched down for all this time and then not get to ask their questions kind of seemed a bit unnecessary.
Yeah, I agree, because you do have to make accommodations. Like even like one of the questions that we ask the guests before even starting the official recording is, are there any time restraints on your end that we can abide to? And then we decide if we cut questions last minute, if we move on. Like you do have to set up that timeline, which he did, but then you have to act on that. You can't just say, oh look, I've got a list of 100 questions. How much time do you have today? I've got 20 minutes. Like, okay, I guess I'll just get to the intro and then time's up. Like, you pick and choose. But no, at the same time, I think he did have a structure that worked. And a part of me is thinking maybe he just ran away with himself and he just was feeling himself a bit too much to let other people talk. But then I think they were recording it. So he must have had some type of obligation to, let's make this a suitable self-contained video for our social media and for our YouTube. And so
And
I
based on the
sympathize with that.
based on the size of the queues and things like that, I believe these were 2 of the most expensive guests also. So I guess it's kind of, you need to get that professional, perhaps even that video that they can use for like ad revenue generating some kind of more stuff from. But yeah, I just think that assuming that whoever they invited up was going to be able to kind of crouch for that long and they're not given the chance to speak and stuff like that, like JayBee says, it kind of highlights the privilege that we do have and need to be a bit more grateful than I sometimes am for it. But
Yeah, because I'm very grateful, but I want to do this. If I lost enough weight that I was confident enough to be like a presenter, like in person, I would love to do that as like a job. That would be amazing. But yeah, I think the panel was good. Is there anything else?
no, that kind of summarized the points I have.
Oh,
So
I guess that was the props.
I sort of covered that now.
I didn't talk about my
Okay, you can
TARDIS prop,
talk
but I
about
don't need to talk
this.
about my TARDIS prop. Like you know what I mean? It's in the vlog.
How do we end this? Is it like a smash or pass?
Yeah, we do. So,
Okay.
the TARDIS vlog, that'll be in the description. All the vlog of this event. Again, I do apologize. It is a bit less because, like, I'm sure if I left the room and Millie, Sophie did a JB smash or pass in terms of that day, like I would get 2 passes because, like I've never been like that before. I promise. But yeah, the TARDIS was great. There was an autograph by Louise Jameson, who is like the #1 Doctor Who Bay of all time. So that was kind of good to see. there was a little plaque for Verity Lambert, who was like the main showrunner of Doctor Who back in '63. So that was awesome to know that like she'd visited those premises, and that was just a great bit of Doctor Who history. But no one cares about that. So, do you want to open up the Smash or Pass?
Yeah, so we'll start with you as always, JayBee. Smash or pass?
So, yes, I was not on my top form that day. It was a bad showing, but then again, like with all the factors that I knew in my mind, I don't fully blame myself, but at the same time, it is what it is. So I do regret being in such a state on the day, but I am gonna smash it. I think we saw some amazing stuff there. There were some amazing shops, and Jennifer Hale, just an incredible person to get to meet, and that Hex Girls Funko Pop is gonna be such a treasured item forever now. So yeah, definite smash from me. What about you, Millie?
I'd say definite smash, fire the photographer. That was my takeaway. I think everything other than the photo op was pretty brilliant. No real complaints, obviously, other than the cost, but these things are gonna cost money.
Yeah, and
Like,
if he sees this, I hope you have a bad Christmas. That's what I will say. I hope it's a really bad day for
hey,
you.
calm down now. You're saying some horrible things. He's a bad photographer. He shouldn't be working with people. He maybe needs to stand in a field and photograph wildlife where he doesn't need to interact with humans. But yeah, everything else, pretty near perfect. Sophie, for you, is this a smash or a pass?
I think overall it could be potentially my favourite con. I've enjoyed all of them. I just thought the layout, the experience, the size of the place was really incredible. And we were walking around, the stall, but it didn't feel like hours on end, even though it was. And that to me was like amazing. Like usually you think, oh, it's been an hour. But no, we like only just got a little way. Like I said, in the second hall, we didn't even make it like 2/3 of the way in. Yeah, I think overall, apart from the photographer, I enjoyed I mean, we didn't have any food, but I think there was a lot more food eateries to have. Not. I know it depends on the venue, but I didn't find an awful lot in Scotland. I know there was a lot at the entry, but once you're in the hall, you kind of want to stay in the hall. They did have the food trucks outside, but torrential rain that day, so I don't think anybody was going to go.
Just kind of piggybacking on what you're saying there. With Edinburgh, when we arrived, because it wasn't lunchtime at that point, the food trucks weren't even outside, I don't think. So we didn't even know there was food outside, plus torrential rain. So it wasn't until we actually went to leave that we even knew there was more food than just the chocolate fountain with strawberries and marshmallows.
Yeah, but even in this one, I was malnourished throughout the day, even though there was like restaurants all around us.
But I think because it was the first panel we went to, and I just think overall it was a real experience. It was a definitely successful day, so it's going to be a smash.
I like that. I like that a lot. I'm surprised to hear that it was your favorite one, though. I mean, I am, but I'm not. I think that's really cool.
I mean,
I think not necessarily the guest, but the overall experience, like with the stalls, the whole environment. I think when you put them all stacking up against each other, I think probably more pros with this one compared to the other two. I mean, the others were like great successes, like smashed both of them as well. But I just think overall, with everything that goes into a Comic-Con, this could have been the best one.
Yeah, I mean, I will admit I've already kind of recommended, I don't know, I wouldn't say recommended this Comic-Con because there wasn't any guests that my brother would have liked to see, but I know he really likes Comic-Cons, and I just kind of said in terms of location, the kind of size of the event and stuff like that, that I would have recommended it. So there certainly is a lot of selling points. I think this is a really good one, and who knows, certainly the last one for this year, but who knows what the next one will be, when that will be.
I'll be in better form by that.
Yeah, JayBee, you were an hour past that day. You were miserable.
Yeah, I was so miserable. Oh, what a prick I am, yeah.
We turned around and you just fallen on the floor.
Yeah, I fell
On
asleep.
multiple occasions.
I fell asleep in front of the Grinch as well, didn't I?
Yeah,
I literally fell asleep.
He was so miserable that the Grinch was blowing a musical instrument in his face, and he didn't know the Grinch was there.
I was so. But look, it's what I do for the audience, right? I'm ripping myself apart, working physically so that I can do some more unboxings, like more or less 24/7 recordings. Like I'm a busy bloke, so you will forgive me, please. But yeah, that does it for today. Thank you so much to everyone for watching this. If you attended the event once again, please do comment down below. And what was your favorite part of the vlog? So yeah, Sophie, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Scooby Doo for life.
That is wonderful. We'll leave that linked in the description down below. For more content from us, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
JayBee and Milly.